Okay, I'm back. This the Bracelet One Healer Tarot here on YouTube. This is the remainder of the video that I just was doing in my hand. Hit by mistake and clicked it off. This is for Mr. Jamal Pickney Sr., who murdered his son, Jamar Pickney Jr., who was 15 years old, for molesting his little girl that was 3 years old. This happened 2009, and he received 37 years for it. So let's just finish with the storyline. So we have work needed to be done on Mr. Pickney Sr. himself, and work needed to be done on his son, Jamar Jr., okay? But not here, not there, not at that time, not at the house, not at the backyard, not pistol whipping him, not shooting him in the head, not acting like you didn't love him, not acting like you picking one child over another, not acting like you love one child over another, not putting all your built up anger from you being abused yourself as a child or an adult on your son and putting it all on him. Attempts to find my mother was senseless. He wanted his mother, but his mother was there, but she couldn't seem to do anything with you. Because going off of what it says on the internet, you was pointing a gun at any of them, they better back off, like you was going to shoot them also. So you was well out of control. Your son was out of control for what he did, but you was out of control. You was a monster right there. Okay? Your son was sticking around fire with no nonsense lessons, and that is abusing his sister, doing something bad like that. But you was sticking around no nonsense lessons too, because you was doing what you was doing to your son. So you was abusing your son. Your son was abusing his sister, your little girl, but you was abusing your son in a whole nother way. You not just abused him, you murdered him and took his life away. It got to be spiritual justice for you. It's your time. Okay? Here's your son. He wanted to make a change. I'm making a change. He wanted help. He told his mother he wanted therapy. He said he's sorry and all kinds of things he was saying. You didn't want to hear none of that. Here you are. Believe what you wish. You didn't want to hear nothing. You didn't want to hear nothing about him sorry. You didn't want to hear none of that. Your son wanted love from you, evidently, that he wasn't getting. But you don't know nothing about your son wanting love from you, because you didn't love your son. So when you don't love your own self, you can't love another. So you didn't love your son. Right? You was doing arrow living that was unique, or your son. So the warrant was going to be taken out for you, but I heard you turned yourself in. Right? Going off the internet, you called somebody at the fire department to get yourself turned in because you didn't want to be shot. You didn't want to be shot, but you thought it was okay to shoot your son. Why is people like that? They don't want to be shot. They don't want to be stabbed. They don't want to be hurt. But then you don't mind doing it to somebody else. Think about that thing. Your son was on the battlefield with you at that time, because you wanted him to be submissive to you. You was controlling, dominating at that time. Okay, you was following your son because you was behind him with the gun, telling him which way to go, which way to walk, and everything else. Right? At that time. Okay? To gain is to lose what needed to go. That's what this card says, light green. To gain for you, to gain for you, to gain for you, to gain for your daughter was to lose what needed to go. And to lose what need to go would be your son. And you felt like your son needed to go. You needed to lose him. And how to lose him was to murder him. And that's what you did. So the next card is either you or your son. I don't know which one because I don't know you. Right? Was going to say out to the world, say out to whoever that you gay, or that you get married. So your son might have was going to tell you something like that he wasn't straight, or you wasn't straight, one of you, or that you was getting married, because he wouldn't be saying he get married because he has a child. However it's flowing. Your son had lots of life to live, but you didn't see that. You didn't see your son had lots of life to live, because you wanted to lose what you felt needed to go, and he had to go, as far as you concerned. You was the executioner right there, the judge and the executioner, right? You wasn't seeing his potential, that he can go get therapy and get help and get straightened out. You didn't see that. You didn't want to see that either. You were seeing that your daughter had lots of life to live, and you were seeing her potential. But as far as your son, you saw no hope with him. You just took his life away. So we have right here, you were saddled down. Well, you were saddling, somebody was saddling you down to be their lifeboat. So it could be that lady, the child's mother. Because somebody, let's flow, because you would be the person we're talking about, right? Somebody was saddling you down to be that lifeboat. Maybe the child's mother, the little girl's mother. If not the little girl's mother, the child, the son, because you his father, you supposed to be his lifeboat. You supposed to give him everything he need, because you his daddy. You needed to accept what you could not change. And what you couldn't change is what your son did to your daughter. But you didn't want to accept what you couldn't change. You wanted to lose what needed to go. And you felt your son needed to go because you was good and hot. Attempts to find his mother was senseless. You had him on his knees, begging, crying, hurting from you beating him with a gun. So you let your son go through all kind of torture. Your son died through some kind of terrible torture by his father's own hands. You tortured your own son to death. You tortured your son, and then you killed him on top of it and put him through all that pain. I mean, really, I don't even know. I don't even see how you could have lived through that. I really don't. I don't see how you wouldn't have been on drugs or something after something like that. But you didn't love your son. So you could do that if you don't love a person. You just like them crooks and people out on the street that just go do whatever and just walk the other way. You ain't want to accept what you could not change. That your son did this to your little girl. You wanted to lose what needed to go, and you wanted your son to go. He had to go as far as you concerned. Last I checked, you not God, though. Okay? You had to acknowledge your wrongs and don't expect it from others. And you was wrong for murdering your son. You was wrong for pistol whipping your son. Giving him a beating is one thing. Beating him with some gun is another. Shooting him in the head is another. I don't know what all you was doing, but you was out of control, sir. You was around a lot of ladies, evidently, that couldn't do nothing with you because it was female. At that time, the law needed to step in and control you at that time because you was out of control. Now, that's the time the law should have been there. The law don't be there sometimes when it's needed. The law should have been there because you needed to be controlled, sir. Only person was out of control there was you. Your son had to acknowledge the wrongs, and he did, because he told his mother and he told you what he did. And he begged for your forgiveness. He said he needed therapy. Acknowledge your wrongs and not expect it from others. He acknowledged that. But you need to acknowledge that you was wrong. So he got another card. So it's upright. So we have a homosexual relationship has abuse. So either you or your son, one of you, was homosexual. One of you. Because it has abuse. You're abusing your son. So either your son was or you are. One or the other. Because it's clashing. Both of the people, they fighting each other. They going against. So it's one of you. Get my drift? So we have right here, your son right here. I'll put this with your son. Your son trying to beg, trying to plead, trying to apologize. You don't want to hear that though. I hear skills I'm ruined here. This goes with a job, but I got to turn it around. You looked at, nah. You don't have no skills. You ain't no good. You worthless, or whatever you looked at as far as your son. And you looked at he needed to go. But God was saying right here that it is time to heal. It was time to heal. But you didn't look at it like that. You looked at that he was worthless. He ain't had no skills. He needed to go. Next one is you pinpointed it and you complained and said whatever. But he pinpointed it and complained to his mother that he needed some help. At least he can say he needs some help. Looking at the reality of it all, looking at things realistically, dealing with court, you wind up going to court. Because you could have handled it a different way. Where charges could have been brought and he could have went to juvenile jail, whatever you call it, or however they do it, and get counseling. But no, you didn't want it to go that way. Because you took out all of your childhood stuff on him. Whatever went on with you or in your adulthood or whatever happened to you. Because, sir, you're not going to tell me nothing didn't happen to you. The way you handled your son. You're not going to tell me nothing happened to you, man. Because I love all kids. That's the thing about it for me. Because he's a child to me. You wasn't going to allow the neglect of your daughter, because abusing your daughter, molesting your daughter is neglect, and that is neglect. That is not right. But you wasn't going to allow it. You wasn't going to allow the neglect of you, because you feel like that's a disrespect to you. And it was also. But God not going to allow it. Because God look at it as you neglected your son. You neglected your son. You didn't love your son. You didn't show your son love. You didn't care for your son. You picked children. You picked one to love and one to hate. And that's what you did. That's not acceptable by God. God is going to handle you, sir, spiritually. The law already got you, but God is going to handle you spiritually. Because you was a sorry excuse for a father, and I'm saying it. You was a sorry excuse for a father to kill your son. To take his life away. And what he did was wrong. And that happens so much in families and in life, period. Because there's a lot of people way before your daughter, before you, way down the line, probably to your great-grandparents or whoever, where somebody got molested. Probably by somebody in the family. If not nobody in the family, the neighbor, the teacher, or whoever. Where most people might didn't even get caught, might didn't go to jail, might didn't get murdered. But here you murdering your son. You was a sorry excuse for a father. You didn't love your son. And that's why you was able to kill your son. But you loved a little girl. But you didn't love your son. What kind of parent is that? To pick one child over another. You're going to say, well, your son deserved to die. Instead of getting your son the help he needed. If you wanted to give him a beating, give him a beating. I don't have no problem with that. Give him a beating. Give him a beating. And then if charges had to be pressed by her mother, it has to happen. Or whatever. And that's it. You fuss him out or say whatever you had to say to him or whatever. Because he still was your son. You still responsible for him. You as his parent. You don't get to step out the parent role and act like you somebody out in the street. So you was a sorry excuse for a father. You was. When it's all over with, You was. Because you did what you did to your son, what was uncalled for. It didn't warrant. What your son did was bad, but it didn't warrant his life being taken. I don't care what nobody say. You didn't love your son, sir. And we need more people to love their children. Or you need to keep your pants zipped if you can't love your kids. And things happen in life. Because you're not perfect, mister. And I know you're not perfect. You did things that you didn't want to do in your life. And you wish you didn't do or whatever it might be. You're not perfect. But you wanted your son to be perfect, evidently. And because he wasn't perfect and was going to make you look bad or whatever you was looking at things like, you thought he deserved the death penalty, and that's what you gave him. But as far as looking at the law not even giving you the death penalty, but you thought your son deserved it. You don't want the death penalty, though. I'm not for the death penalty myself, personally. But you wouldn't want the law to give you the death penalty, but you thought your son deserved it. I don't know why people think that they can do stuff to other people, but when it comes down to them, they want somebody to have compassion and pity for them. But they don't for another person's life. So yeah, because I'm a mother. Man, I got a problem with parents picking children over another. I don't care what happened. You shouldn't have killed your son, sir. But, like I said, you didn't love your son. You probably barely saw your son. Your son didn't get no love from you. He acted out inappropriate, terribly. Because he probably was jealous somewhat of that little child. He probably was, because she was getting love and attention and he wasn't getting it. You never know what's going on with children if you don't talk to your kids to find out, and if they don't say it out to you. But God get ready to deal with you. The law got you, but God get ready to deal with you. Now it's 2024. God gonna make you think of your son. God gonna make you think. God gonna make you get the feelings you supposed to get and see how wrong you was. Because right then you probably thought you wasn't wrong. You felt like, no, I wasn't wrong. He shouldn't have did it, or whatever you thinking, like trying to rationalize and make it seem like it's right. You can never say nothing to make that right, mister. Never. This is the brass loved one. God says that Jamar Pinckney Jr. is finally in a safe and happy place with spirit, with God. You didn't give him a chance to change his life, to grow into a young man. Because I don't call it, a young man. A young man. You didn't give him a chance to grow up, to be 20, to be 18, to be 21. You didn't give him a chance to do none of that. You didn't give him a chance to grow and change into anything. You just cut off his life just like that. You wanted to just lose what needed to go, like, nah, he got to go. He useless. He done did what he did. He useless. He'll never change. So you looked at, he'll never change. Nah, you took all your feelings from whatever happened to you out on your son. And he didn't deserve what happened to you. He deserved only what he did wrong, not all somebody did to you. And you put all that together and you used that on your son. His own mother couldn't save him. But she different than me, because nowhere in the world you would have been going out there with my son to shoot my son, and I don't do nothing to you. There's no way. If I was her, I wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been just screaming and hollering. I would have went and got a chair, anything, and I would have banged you across your head or whatever I had to do to save my son. You wouldn't have went and shot my son in the head, and I'm like standing there hollering and screaming. I don't think so. All those people, all them people there, somebody should have banged you across the back of your head and knocked you down, and all them should have jumped on top of you and helped you still till the cops came. If all them was women or not. Because they could have saved that young man. They could have saved him. They could have saved him. But evidently, they were scared of you and they were scared of the gun you was holding because you was out of control. And then you get yourself back together. You wasn't insane, so don't say you was insane. And your lawyer better not say you was insane because you was not insane. You're sane as I am sitting here talking. You knew just what you was doing. Period. And after you do it, you decide you're going to call your friend at the fire department to help turn you in because you don't want to be shot. But you think it's fine to shoot your son in his head. But you don't want to be shot. No, I don't like it because I'm a mother and I love kids. And I don't like the idea you shot your son and put your son through all that pain. I don't like the idea you beat your son with some gun and stripped all his clothes off or whatever it say that you did. And whatever names or whatever you called them. So he left this world humiliated, crying, humiliated, hurting, in all kind of pain. And then the ultimate pain was that gunshot in his head. So you wanted him to feel all kind of pain. What kind of parent are you? What kind of parent are you? What kind of parent are you? Because most parents don't want to put their children through no kind of pain. And what you did was you wanted to put your child through all kind of pain. Isn't, boy, if I was his mother, I couldn't even look at you. I couldn't even look at you. There's no reason she gotta look at you no more because she don't have a son by you no more. Unless she got another child by you. I couldn't even look at you no more. I wouldn't have been able to look at you no more. I would want you to stay clear and clear from me. You couldn't say nothing else to me. And I mean nothing else. Because in time, you know, if the person, they soften their heart and they might say, well, I'm going to forgive the person. But I don't even know how you can forgive somebody who do something like that. I just don't even know. Because he meant to do what he meant to do. But you can forgive a person. But it would be very, very hard. Because it was terrible what this man, what you did to your son. It was terrible. Somebody should have went in their house and got a chair some kind of way and came and banged you across the back of your head with it and knocked you down, and all of them put together jump on top of you and hold you down while somebody go call the cops. But they ain't think like that. Their mind was thinking that you had the gun and you just had to stay, they had to stay back and just holler. And you kill a child like this. You was out of control, look like Mister. Your son was out of control in one way, but you was out of control too. It's time for you to get your punishment from God though now. It's time. God gonna make you think about your son. If you haven't been thinking about your son, God gonna make you think about your son on the softer side. God gonna make you feel something for your son. If you never felt nothing before, and which you didn't, because you murdered your son, God gonna make you feel something starting this year. Because it's time. It's time. It's time. Because it wasn't called for what you did. The child begging for help, begging for forgiveness, and you still gonna do what you're gonna do? Nah. You got some deep-seated problems inside yourself that wasn't healed, and you just took it all out on your son. But you in jail with a bunch of men that's going to make you feel all kind of ways. You're going to fight everybody in there? You can't pull a gun on them because you won't have one to pull on them. But are you going to fight all of them? When they hit a nerve, this the Brass Love 1 Healer Tarot 9 here on YouTube. And this storyline is about a 15-year-old that was murdered by his father because he molested his 3-year-old little sister. He apologized. He wanted therapy. He wanted help, but his father just beat him, pistol whipped him, stripped him with no clothes on, said whatever names or whatever he said to him, and just took him to some field or wherever they say he took him at, some lot or somewhere, had him on the ground with no clothes on, sitting there. I mean, not sitting there, I mean on his knees with no clothing on, and shot him in the head like he had no care for him. You were so disconnected from your son. You wasn't insane. You just didn't love your son. God gonna make you feel something as far as your son this year, mister, starting this month. If you never felt anything for your son, God gonna make you feel as far as you was wrong. If you never love your son or never will, but God gonna make you see that you was wrong. And that's not acceptable by God. Since you want to say what's acceptable by you, that wasn't acceptable that he molested your little girl. You felt that wasn't acceptable. Well, God feel that's not acceptable that you murdered your son. So you got somebody who feel like it's not acceptable that you got to answer to. Now the law handled you that way. But we got spiritual here. I'm talking about God. I'm not talking about man that's walking. So it's time for God to deal with you now. It's the Brass Love 1.